discuss the stocks, we have Mayuresh Joshi of Angel Broking and Vaishali Parekh of Prabhudas Leeladhar. Vaishali and Mayuresh, thanks so much for joining us. Mayuresh, I'm going to start by asking you about the rebound. Is it convincing, or is it just kind of a rebound after the kind of fall we had?
Morning, Minnie. I think clearly if you're looking at the global setup itself is a little bit volatile in terms of what data points have probably come out of China, what has come out of Japan, and you're probably looking at the way the crude prices are moving southwards of global demand actually tapering off. So in that scenario, you coupling earnings not expected to be great, the credit cycle probably expected to take a few more quarters to probably revive. So again, clearly I think it's going to be a wait and watch in terms of how earnings might revive, how the credit cycle might revive, what probably happens with the budget. So our own take is that the volatility in the markets will continue, and therefore we're adopting a stock-specific approach in these markets. You're probably waiting for stocks to correct, you're buying in a very staggered manner, but clearly our take is that the volatility in the markets will continue for the next few months as well.
Vaishali, at the current levels, how is the Nifty looking? Is it a convincing bounce back from a chartist point of view?
Technically, actually, if you were to see 7,500 does hold a very strong support, but still I would say it would be a wait and watch scenario, because there are no sectors which are going to second this right now. All sectors are showing tremendous weakness. So let's see if this holds, and if it sustains above 76.20, 76.40, then we can say 7,500 is a good base.
Okay, let's start off with a bank pack. Normally we would have started off with TCS today, but banks are where the positive upswing is happening. We've got DCB and IndusInd Bank both coming out with pretty good numbers. Federal Bank came out with a nasty surprise on the provisioning front, and we saw a crack over there, but it's rebounded. My colleague Shraddha joins us with what has been the take from brokerages on IndusInd Bank's numbers. Shraddha.
Yes, even as IndusInd Bank was able to meet street expectations, the management commentary also coming in more on the positive side. We have CLSA, which has actually maintained IndusInd Bank as one of their top picks, with the target price maintained at 1130. They say that the scaling up of the CASA franchise will support market share gains for the bank, and they expect a 28% CAGR in profit over FY15 to 18, and it's the high growth and profitability, improving deposit franchise and stable asset quality which they believe will support premium valuations for the bank. JP Morgan has also maintained their overweight and the target price of 1100. They say that the management is delivering on key quality parametrics which should continue to drive the elevated EPS growth. The margin upside from readjusting the corporate and consumer back to 50% consumer is quite significant, and they believe that this will play out over the next 4 to 6 quarters. The premium valuations they believe are supported by the improving return ratios and elevated growth, and going forward they do expect the stock performance to be largely in line with the EPS growth, as they believe that the sustained re-rating of the recent years is now done. Jefferies on the other hand, even as they retain their buy, they've reduced the target price by a small 6% to 1215. They say that the valuations now are steep and they expect a moderation to come in there. They've lowered their EPS estimates by 5 to 7%, and they're forecasting a 27 and 23% net profit and EPS CAGR over FY15 to 18. They say that they have gradually lowered the payout ratio also to 10%. So valuation concerns driving the target price for Jefferies.
Right. So the consensus is the numbers are good, but the valuations are stretched. Mayuresh, what's your take? IndusInd has been a big performer in the banking space over the 12-month period. At 940, how is it looking to you?
So again, I think very consistent performer when it comes to how the NI growth has been in terms of asset quality, and though there have been a few slippages this time around, in absolute numbers I think they're quite manageable considering their balance sheet size. Clearly I think the return ratios are one of the best in the industry. ROE is around 2%, ROEs of 18%. But clearly I think as your analyst was pointing out, I think valuations around 2.9, price to book at 517. It's a little bit on the higher side considering where the CASA ratio probably for the bank is at the current juncture between 34-35%. So any improvement on that front, along with the CD market share in terms of how the lending pans out, is going to act very, very positively for the stock. However, I think investors holding on to the stock at lower levels should continue to hold the stock.
I want to talk about two other banks, two different kinds of numbers. First is DCB, you know, that stock, and I'm going to pull out the one-year graph on that stock and get Vaishali's view also on that. The stock fell off after, you know, the last quarter numbers. It came down from 137 to around the 80 kind of levels. If you can see that it was almost like a cliff, that stock, the way it fell. And now it's seeing some bit of rebound in today's trade after the numbers. Mayuresh, what did you make of the DCB numbers?
So clearly, after the last con call and their ambitious plans of expansion of branches, I think that is what probably took the stock down, along with weak asset quality numbers. But this time around, I think the lending has been quite stable in excess of 23%. Asset quality has remained extremely stable for the bank. But clearly, I think two important aspects stand out. A, in terms of what branch expansion will actually pan out over the next few quarters, and that might have a telling effect in terms of how the OPEX plans out. And the lending book itself, I think you've seen a granular improvement happening both on the SME and the retail front, which has acted extremely positively for the bank. However, I think my own take is similar to it in terms of how the CASA is panning out. I think the CASA needs to improve for having market share gains probably pan out. So I think consistency is numbers that are what I'd be probably looking at. Though the numbers were good, I think the numbers have to be consistent in the quarters to come. So clearly, at this point of time, I think it's still a wait and watch as far as DCB is concerned.
And Federal Bank, a lot of stress there?
So clearly, I think asset quality deteriorated. So I think a very soft set of numbers on that front, and clearly even the management indicated the kind of asset sale they had to cater to. I think the loan growth probably has been far lower than what their peer comparisons have probably done, even in the scenario that we're probably working out with. However, I think the management was very, very hopeful in terms of asset quality. Pressures actually bottoming out in the quarters to come, in the next quarter in fact. So clearly, I think you're probably seeing some amount of improvement happening. But unless we see that happening on the balance sheet, I think very difficult call to take on Federal. So I think again, we'll largely be maintaining a neutral as at this stage.
Little time and lots of stocks to talk about. So I want to ask you about three stocks: IndusInd, DCB, and Federal Bank on the charts. Vaishali?
Yes. IndusInd Bank compared to other banks is much stronger, and I think it is a buy keeping in mind 880 as a strict stop loss for a positional target of around 1000 to 1020 levels. As far as DCB is concerned, there is no clarity right now. It still shows weakness, but with a trading perspective, one can buy this with a stop loss of 74 just for a technical bounce back of 82 to 85. Once it sustains about 85, we may say that there is some further strength coming in to go to a level of around 95. So I would right now recommend just as a trading call. And so also is the case with Fed Bank. Federal Bank also has right now made a new low in the recent past. So 45 would be a good technical support, and I would recommend a buy at these levels for a bounce back coming up to perhaps 52, 55 levels.
Let's shift focus from banking to TCS. The company came out with numbers yesterday, disappointing Q3, and of course a lot of headwinds that the company is dealing with. This is what N. Chandrasekaran, MD and CEO of TCS, had to say regarding the challenges the company is likely to face going forward.
We just need to make sure that the Diligenta business, which we have talked about, is at least flattish going forward. We need to work on Japan.
Last time you said 2 quarters, so I'm presuming by next quarter Diligenta would be okay.
And then Japan we need to work on. And then we need to continue to focus on key markets and key industries where we see opportunities. We need to capture those opportunities, and we need to work with clients, and we've got a lot of platforms we announced. We have to scale those platforms.
The road ahead after what has been a challenging last couple of quarters. The brokerages are not impressed with TCS's performance. Most of them have cut their target prices on the IT major. Shell Damania joins us with a quick heads up on what the brokerage views are. Shell.
So I had quite a few views coming in as far as TCS is concerned, but let's start off with one of the more interesting ones. JP Morgan has come ahead with its own view on the third quarter earnings of TCS. They have also kept a neutral rating on the stock, and they have cut the price target as well. But there are 2 or 3 major points that they make which are quite interesting. They first of all go ahead and say that TCS is consistently finding it more tougher to meet Street's revenue expectations. The second point that they speak about is the Chennai flooding, and they say that TCS had issued a mid-quarter release pointing to the impact of Chennai floods. On the other hand, Cognizant yesterday had issued an investor release stating that the business continuity plan that Cognizant had undertaken helped mitigate the financial impact of the Chennai floods. Now JP Morgan says that it begs to question why was TCS not able to offset the impact of floods through the robust business continuity plan as Cognizant was able to do. So that's a different view that we have got from the brokerages. Apart from that, there are quite a few other views. Barclays has come ahead with its own view. They've got to maintain their overweight position on the stock due to the attractive valuations. On the other hand, they've got to cut the price target from 2,925 to 2,780 on the stock. They also go ahead and say that they've got a lower multiples due to the recent growth weakness. Goldman Sachs on the
Okay, so those are a whole lot of host of reactions on TCS and what brokerages have had to say. Mayuresh, the sum total seems to be that the challenges continue. It's also a valuation issue. What is your take?
Yeah, I think the challenges are clearly continuing and the underperformance is clearly reflected in the numbers that they probably posted. And again, I think in terms of a constant currency revenue growth and a comparison with Infosys, it has largely underperformed over the past 3 quarters. However, I think valuations, in my opinion, become a little bit more attractive if you do a comparison check over the past few quarters. Clearly at around 16.2 times, I think it's quite attractively priced, in my opinion, considering the kind of order book that the management is talking about. Clearly, I think digital with 13% of the overall top line expected to grow even further. I think the margins in this business are quite strong. You're probably looking at addition in employees coming through over the next year, attrition probably staying stable in this quarter to come. So I think there were a few positive takeaways. And again, I think one really needs to understand that Q3, Q4 are typically soft quarters. So clearly, I think there are demand pressures probably coming through. You're probably seeing some amount of constraints when it's coming to the client side as well. But clearly, I think the management has indicated that the pricing probably has not changed. The volumes might have degrown because of the unfortunate incident in Chennai. And again, I think clients probably firming up their budgets in the quarter to come. But clearly, I think valuations remain supportive in our side. However, I think in terms of the revenue degrowth, we might actually cut down our EPS estimates and come out with a final target. But it will be lower than what we had envisaged when we started the year.
Okay, which was at what?
So it was in northwards of 3,000 rupees. So I think that will definitely come down because of the revenue cuts that we've probably seen.
Okay. Well, Shali, the stock is at a 52-week low. How is it looking on the charts at 2278 odd?
Technically, it still shows some weakness. However, it has a good support coming near 2220. So then I would recommend a buy at those levels with a stop loss of 2200. And maybe we can get a bounce up to 2400 levels.
Okay, fair enough. Let's get on to the mid-cap side of the market now. All Cargo Logistics is the top gainer if you look at the BSE 200 index. Mayuresh, logistics, cargo companies all doing extremely well. What's your call on All Cargo Logistics?
No, clearly, I think if you look at their acquisition, probably they have been consolidating the ECU line. And again, I think it has been expanding its footprints across geographies. So I think they are present almost across 90 countries. Having said that, I think the debt reduction that is probably coming through and expectations of higher cash flow from operation is probably holding the stock in good stead. However, I think one really needs to understand how numbers pan out. So I think I'll really wait out for how the numbers will pan out in this quarter to come before we finally take a call on what is to be done with this stock.
Okay, Vaishali?
All Cargo is pretty much in a positive, and I would say it has already risen so much, but it would be a good buy and decline at around 180 levels because we would look at a target of 220 or 240.
Okay, fine. 200 is where it is at currently. That's a rise of about 9%. Sugar has always been a flavor, and we've seen the sugar stocks reacting to every bit of news. But many of the sugar stocks are at their 52-week highs. This after the government has hiked the ceiling on sugar cess to 200 rupees per quintal. My colleague Hiral joins us with what this means for these companies. Hiral.
That's right, Mindy. If you see in terms of the sugar counters, all of the counters, Dalmia Bharat, Balrampur Chini, Bajaj Hindustan, Sri Renuka, all of these trading in the green with Balrampur Chini at a 52-week high. Now, the sugar cess ceiling has been hiked to 200 rupees per quintal from 25 rupees per quintal. And the bill does provide for the imposition of a cess which is equivalent to an excise duty on the production of sugar. Now, the increase in cess will help the sugarcane growers as well as the mills, and it will help the government also to meet its expenditure on intervention intervention to ensure that the payment of the dues to the sugarcane farmers are timely met. Additionally, it will also increase the accruals to the Sugar Development Fund, which will facilitate the rehabilitation as well as modernization of the sugar mills, thereby helping the cane growers as well. So all in all, this move is positive in terms of where the farmers are concerned as well as the mills where they have high amount of arrear spending so far.
Right, let's get Mayuresh in on this. Mayuresh, what's your take on these sugar stocks?
Well, clearly, I think if you look at how the macros are panning out, I think at least for this sugar season, you're probably looking at higher inventory levels. And if you take the mandatory 3 million tons of exports from the entire equation, you're probably still looking at excess carryover, inventory carried over to the next sugar season. Again, I think the global scenario is in favor of raw sugar prices moving up, which I've already seen that. We already witnessed that happening, and even on the domestic front, you've actually seen firming up of sugar prices. Now, how will that pan out in the year to come, in the sugar season to come? You're probably looking at the on cycle to begin for a lot of these sugar companies, where the production might get shifted to other cash crops, and that would probably mean that the production numbers on an absolute basis would actually start coming down. The demand probably stays at the same level or goes a little bit higher from the level that we're probably witnessing, which means that there is every possibility that sugar prices might stabilize or even firm up from the current level. But clearly, even if you look at balance sheets of a lot of these sugar companies, I think they're still under a lot of stress. You're probably still seeing a lot of working capital constraints. A lot of these sugar companies have leverage issues. And clearly, I think what probably happens out of FRP and the SAT pricing is things to be watched out for. Again, I think these stocks are ruling at their highs. You've seen significant movement happening on stocks with expectation of prices moving up. So clearly, I think one really needs to wait for declines onto this counter. But from the next season, again, clearly, I think the season of the tide will turn in favor of sugar companies. But one really needs to wait for declines if one really needs to have fresh investments done in this sector.
There is, of course, a difference in the north-based and the Tamil Nadu-based sugar companies. Rajshri Sugars, if we can just get it out for you. There's been a lot of pain over there because policy has gone against these stocks, and the stock is seeing a rebound. If you look at a 1-month horizon, you will see how choppy Rajshri Sugars has been. So it's really been a factor of a lot of policy issues, as you can see, 30% up. Also because there has been an increase in international sugar prices. So there are lots of different strains that we saw in the sugar stocks. Let's get Vaishali in on this. Vaishali, what are you making? Do you like this space as a chartist?
Well, it has got into a trending mode, and right now there is a bit of a run-up. So maybe we may see for the near term, we may see some resistance coming at these levels. However, one needs to wait and watch at these levels. If there is a breakout beyond 38, 39, then we would see a further upside of perhaps the 50 levels, if you're talking about Rajshri Sugars.
Okay, I'm talking about the rest of the sugar pack, the stocks that
are in the similar pattern. All are in the similar pattern. They are in a strong trending pattern. So we just got to wait and watch from here on. If it goes beyond these levels, we are looking at further upside.
Okay. My colleague Hirul also joins us on another stock which is in focus, which is Glenmark, because there has been a brokerage upgrade on that. Hirul, what's the news around Glenmark?
In terms of Glenmark, they've increased the target price to 900 from 805. Credit Suisse has gone ahead and upgraded the target price as well as the stock to a neutral. And what they are saying is that the downside risk has largely been priced in the stock. Now, the EPS CAGR over the next 2 years is expected to be pretty strong at 25%. And what Credit Suisse is saying is that Glenmark continues to get the approvals in the US also with clear facilities. The key catalyst for the stock will be the nitroglycerin launch, which is in the 4th quarter of FY16, as well as Zeta, which is launched in December 2016. Now, even post the exclusivity, Zeta is a meaningful product for Glenmark, and these two molecules will account for almost 11% of FY18 EPS. And additionally, what they are saying is that the stock currently is also trading at a 20% discount to the large cap peers. So in terms of the negatives as well as the downside risks, all of them are priced in the stock already as of now.
Okay. Let's get Mayuresh in on this. Mayuresh, I'm going to take the 1-year chart of Glenmark. August was the heyday of the stock. It was up at 1226, 1226, and saw a very sharp crash from there. As you can see, that was a peak, almost like an Everest out there. What's your call on Glenmark?
And I would still not like to climb the Himalayas in that case, Mini. So clearly, I think we're still looking at valuations A being a little bit more on the higher side if you do a simple comparison, historical check of how the stock has performed. And clearly, in terms of approvals coming through, I think we'll still wait and watch in terms of the core approvals, in terms of what kind of guidance that gives to the EPS upgrade. So clearly, at this point of time, we'll be still preferring Sun Pharma, but our own take is that a lot of negatives probably are priced into the stock.
Vaishali, your quick take on Glenmark?
I think at this level it would be a favorable risk-reward ratio. One can buy this stock because seeing the weekly chart, I think it has held on to a good support level. Keeping 820 as stop loss, one can buy this for 950, 980.
Okay. Mayuresh, you're running out of time completely, but I'm going to take two stocks which are reacting because of the crude oil prices. One is SpiceJet and the other is Nilkamal. What's your take on these two?
No, so clearly I think SpiceJet is a key beneficiary in terms of how crude oil prices are declining, and ETF prices obviously coming down means effectively the EBITDA margins for a lot of these companies go up. Now, since Ajay Singh has taken over, you've probably seen number of flights increase, you've seen the market share probably go up. You're also probably looking at the EBITDA and the profitability come back in the last 2 quarters. With crude coming down, it adds to the profitability of the company, so a tactical call still remains on these aviation stocks over the next 2 quarters. On Nilkamal, probably I think we had a very positive view a few quarters down the line, and again I think the recommendation would be to hold the stock. Investors are probably have probably got on at lower levels. The lower crude prices means that the raw material cost will provide support in maintaining margins. Polymer prices have declined significantly over the past 1 year, and clearly I think if you look at the top line growth, our own expectations is that the company will post a revenue CAGR of around 8% over the next 2 years, EBITDA margins in northwards of 10.5, 11% over the next 2 years as well, which effectively means that the bottom line gets boosted, and our own expectations is that the bottom line might actually double from 42 odd crores in FY15 to 100 crores in FY17. However, at the current juncture, the markets are factoring in a lot of positives. The valuations have become a little too stretched, so clearly investors holding on to the stock should continue holding at low levels.
Okay, Nilkamal stock returned 230% in the last 1 year, and SpiceJet even better, 350 odd % in the last 1 year. So it's a great note to end the show on. Somebody's made a lot of money on these stocks. Thanks so much, Vaishali. You're completely out of time. Mayuresh, we're completely out of time. Really appreciate you joining us. We wrap up this show, but on the other side, we will be joined by the DCB management on the world of mid-cap. So do join us then to get a sense of what this bank is doing. Goodbye.